right? So this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is, it isn't going to work. Texas Congressman slams Biden's executive action limiting border crossings. Guys, I have a couple of issues with the concept of this. Like, I understand, like, you know, unaccompanied minors, right? But the problem is that we have documented cases of people lying about their age, right? Like a 22 or 23-year-old will come through the border saying that they're 16 or 17. They're allowed in, guys, right? And so I think that should have been something that should have been at least spoken about when you just said all unaccompanied minors. But, you know, but listen, who am I? I'm just some random guy on the internet. So, guys, let's go and check it out.
Turning to one of our top stories this hour, this afternoon, President Biden will sign an executive action that will allow him to shut down the border to asylum seekers if illegal crossings reach 2,500 a day. Now, the border would reopen only when they fell below 1,500. Right now, for some context, daily encounters are averaging above 4,000, which means this executive action could effectively shut down the border immediately.
Right.
I want to get reaction from Texas Democratic Congressman Greg Casar, who's a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He represents part of San Antonio and Austin. Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time. How do you view this executive action expected today by President Biden?
I have real disagreements and concerns with this executive action because I think it plays into the current Republican talking points. You see, the Republican Party here in Congress tries to cover up its own failures by scapegoating immigrants. It's the oldest trick in the book. And they continue to advocate for closing legal pathways to migration and pointing at chaos at the border. Unfortunately, they've created this political pressure that has the president today responding by restricting asylum, which isn't going to work because it doesn't actually reduce the number of people being pushed out of their homes in Latin America. It doesn't actually create new legal pathways for people to migrate here. And so I think we need an alternative, progressive vision for what will work on the border. And that's why today I'm announcing that I'm drafting legislation to drastically reduce the amount that the United States is contributing to forced migration. I think if we want to address what's happening at the border, we need to create legal pathways so that folks don't have to go to the cartels or wait in line at the border. If we want to address what's going on in our community on immigration, we should finally provide protections to our dreamers and to longtime families here. And then third, we need to do what folks in DC don't want to talk about, which is how are U.S. policies actually contributing, especially in places like Latin America, to starvation and poverty and violence that is pushing people out of their homes in record numbers. That's why I'm drafting legislation to finally start tackling that issue.
Okay, guys, that's why I wanted to make sure I got every single thing that he said here. Yeah, is America like causing some of the issues? Have we been? Guys, we had a gigantic part in the reason why Venezuela is the way it is. That's a fact. But here's the thing. I'm not going to go ahead and say that it's purely some made up thing that's happening at the border. It's really happening at the border, guys. And I think that you, sir, may be ignoring that. I think you're trying to prove a point here, but what actually is happening is happening. I think we've now seen enough, guys, to actually to make a decision on if what's happening is real or not, right? I mean, we've seen multiple cases of people coming in and just absolutely wreaking havoc. Not everyone. In fact, it's not everyone. But it's enough to kind of point that out. Now, in terms of like additional legal pathways, I like the idea of that. Absolutely. The concept of people actually staying within their nation and applying. If that had a better overall system, then we wouldn't be hitting. The border wouldn't be flooded as much as it generally is. 4,000 a day at some points is absolutely crazy, right? Now the people still need to go through the port, guys. If you're not going through that, I'm not sure I'm going to back that at all, right? Because the only way this can work is if everyone played their part adequately. But unfortunately, there are people that are, in fact, here for nefarious purposes. They do not want to be seen by Border Patrol. They don't. These are the ghost migrants. These are the ones who are coming in through San Diego, coming onto the shores and just jumping into cars that are waiting for them. These people don't want to be caught. The gotaways, let's say, guys. Right? His point would make a lot of sense if everyone that was trying to immigrate did everything the correct way. But the world is not perfect, bro. That's my problem with this statement. But yeah, we do need more legal pathways. Absolutely. Start with the H-1B visa. Do that. Do work authorizations, that type of thing. Set up things for people to find jobs, for people that are in agriculture to hire people from outside the country, or warehouses, factories, things like that generally Americans have been running from lately. These type of jobs that need people to work. Give them 6 months on, 6 months off, guys, right? I think that would probably be a really intelligent way to do things. That's a legal pathway. They're not going to stay here, but they can come work here and support their family, because unfortunately, 8 out of 10 migrants are going to get sent back. Why? Because they're not here for asylum. Like, they're not actually asylum seekers or economic migrants, guys. And I think that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. If they were asylum seekers or like refugees of sorts, I think the majority of Americans would be completely fine with helping someone that is about to have their life removed from them, guys, right? But if you're saying, oh, I can't find a job in my country, so I want to come here and work in your country and then work under some type of remittance to my nation to help their GDP, a little wild, bro. Okay, that's not asylum. You get what I'm saying here, guys? But all right, let's get it.
People out of their homes in record numbers. That's why I'm drafting legislation to finally start tackling that issue.
I mean, you mentioned those push factors, which are driving a lot of the people to come to the southern border seeking better life, seeking protection from violence, from poverty, and all of that. What you just outlined, though, doesn't necessarily address those specifics. And so how does what you've outlined reduce the number of people who are trying to get across the border that is overwhelming the system right now?
It doesn't.
The Congress needs to pass comprehensive immigration reform. But short of that, the president has options available, and the Congress should be talking about those options, and that's what's in my legislation. We should look at these outdated Trump-era sanctions policies that we have against countries like Venezuela that are starving people in their home countries. It wouldn't cost us a penny to pull back on those policies and let people actually economically thrive in their home country. We should be looking at what is contributing to violence in Latin America. If you look at countries like the Dominican Republic or Mexico, a huge proportion, and oftentimes the majority of the guns and weapons that are recovered there, especially from criminal gangs, are made and trafficked from the United States. So we need to stop contributing and start pulling back on the ways that the U.S. policy is actually pushing folks out of Latin America. And then for the folks that want to move, just as people have for the entire history of our country, we need a more legal, safe, and orderly system for the people that want to come here so that they can in a legal manner. Unfortunately, we have a Republican majority House that is...
Bro, who voted for this man?
...blocking that. The president shouldn't cave into their pressure and instead should be opening up legal pathways on his own, trying to protect people here on his own if the Republicans won't support him, and stop contributing through foreign policy to making life in Latin America worse.
Well, look, Congressman, a lot of Americans believe the Republican position on this and agree with what...
And that's the reality. Like, this guy here is absolutely in the minority right now. I promise you. I don't know where this man, well, he says it's in Texas, but I think he must be stuck within some type of echo chamber that just basically like circle jerks themselves or something crazy like that, guys. I'm trying to understand how you don't see what's happening. It's like you're purposely not seeing what's happening, bro. All right, that's weird. I find that incredibly, absolutely odd, guys. Like, listen, you make points about a legal pathway. Absolutely, we need more legal pathways, right? And then what's going on won't continue to happen, right? But what you're saying is you're just talking now. You're talking to your echo chamber.
They have presented, and the...
Hold on.
to making life in Latin America worse.
Well, look, Congressman, a lot of Americans believe the Republican position on this and agree with what they have presented. An NBC News poll last September, for example, gave Republicans an 18 percentage point advantage over Democrats when it comes to dealing with immigration. That's an all-time high for the GOP. It's an all-time low deficit for Republicans. How do you explain that?
We need a clear vision that isn't just Republican light. Right now, we have President Trump saying he's just going to solve the problem and he's just going to crack down. But we know that he's a con artist and a grifter. We know that he's not serious about solving the problem. But I don't think we can beat the Republicans at their own game here by playing Republican light. Instead, we need a strategy that the American people believe will work, which means, one, working in Latin America to reduce forced migration, two, having legal pathways so that there's order at the border, and three, protecting the folks here. And here's what I'd say. Too often, the chaos at the border that the Republicans campaign on is caused by the Republicans themselves. So I think we need to call them out rather than playing into their own hands. They're currently the arsonists, and they point at the firefighters and say it's the firefighters' fault for the fire. And we need to call them out for that rather than saying, well, maybe you've got a point there, Mr. Arsonist.
It just doesn't.
Bro, no. See, this is what I don't enjoy, right? So you have this person here calling people Republicans, right? Then you have Republicans that call these people libs, right? I hate both of these things, right? Just be normal, bro, all right? Do not follow party lines under any circumstance because they both have issues, guys, all right? He is way too partisan, just like some other people are just super unnecessarily partisan. Bro, we have a problem, let's fix it. All right. I don't care about your political affiliation. I care a lot about what you're saying, right? But what he is saying, in fact, bro, we don't live in a utopia. Okay, we don't. So I'll back your position when you give me something that's kind of more grounded or rooted in reality.
Rather than saying, well, maybe you've got a point there, Mr. Arsonist.
It just doesn't seem like the American people believe that the Democrats have a handle on this situation. When you look at the poll, I mean, there's a lot more. Right now, Trump has a 30-point edge on this issue of immigration over President Biden. There's polling recently by the AP showing Latinos support Biden with only a 9-point advantage over Trump. And reminder, President Biden won the Latino vote by 28 points in 2020.
Guys, this election coming up is going to be interesting. Right, it's gonna be super interesting, and this is what I don't think, like a lot of like super left people, specifically like uber left people, just don't understand. Like we don't live in a utopia, bro. Like you can't just say these things will always work. Let's just put this in place and everyone will do it. No, they won't, because not everyone wants to follow those rules, right? They don't. There are some people who just don't want to get caught because they've been caught before. So why would they, in fact, follow your rules? No. There just needs to be more of a force, obviously, at the border, guys. But all right, listen. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.